Okay, now I didn't give you the reference for this because I wanted you to make your own conclusions, but the reference for this names the figure and what he's doing. If you find this online tonight, you'll see that at some sites it actually says he's a pharaoh hunting. So what would you conclude that important male figure is if you went to that site?
Pharaoh.
A pharaoh. But if you go to the British Museum, there they call it Neberman hunting, and they tell you that Neberman was a nobleman. So why should I trust the British Museum and not those other sites? Because we need to be thinking about, who do I trust on the web? Who is most trustworthy on the internet? Why might I trust the British Museum? Remember I said at the beginning that this is no longer in the tomb, it's been taken from the tomb away to be studied?
Maybe the British Museum has that.
Yes, I'd want to know who has that, who has been studying it, what have they concluded? And the British Museum have concluded that this is Neberman, a nobleman, and he is hunting. So what was our conclusion? That he was a
Important figure, isn't it? Pharaoh.
and that he was
Hunting.
which shows that if you use the same techniques as a historian, you can come up with the same sorts of conclusions as any historian anywhere in the world. And remember, you can use this technique in a lot of other subjects. There'll be other subjects where they give you images to analyse. So long as you look at what are the actual important parts, what does that suggest to me, and then move to your conclusion, you'll be able to substantiate them. Now we've looked at a few things there, but you might even notice there's some other things there because we've analysed with one hypothesis in mind. Was it the gift of the Nile? If you had a different hypothesis, you might look at some of the other features of that. If your hypothesis was, is family life important in ancient Egypt, what then might you have looked at?
There's other people in the
These
painting.
other figures, we haven't really analysed those because that wasn't part of what we were investigating. So remember, we talked about historians being strategic. One of the strategies is that you only analyse the source to gather evidence for your hypothesis. If you were looking at somebody looking at a different hypothesis, then might use the same source in a very different way. But let's write our conclusion then down the bottom. We think it is this wall painting depicts, and what did you say it depicts?
An important male hunting on the Nile.
Excellent. Now, the purpose of wall paintings in an ancient Egyptian tomb is to depict the sort of life that they might have in the afterlife. So, what do you think this important figure wants in the afterlife?
To be seen as a hunter, as an important
Good.
figure.
And when he goes hunting, what does he want provided for him in the afterlife?
An abundance of food.
An abundance of food. And when he goes fishing, he wants fish, all there ready for him. So this is his depiction of what he wants in the afterlife. Does that mean it's an actual depiction then of what he has in his real life?
Not necessarily.
Not necessarily, but so it's perhaps an idealised or a more perfect version of Egypt. But it certainly gives us an idea of what Egyptians of the time thought the Nile was like.
This wall painting depicts an important male hunting on the Nile.
So your conclusion is exactly the same as the British Museum, who've been studying it for years, which tells you that if you use this technique, you can come up with good conclusions that are the same or better than historians in the world. So you've done an excellent job.